Society tends to reward people who chase impressive, measurable goals, the kind that looks shiny on social media. I used to look up to others for their accolades and their constant hustling, but now, the people I truly admire the most are those who actually listen and follow their inner voice, even when everything around them suggests otherwise. Turns out, there are two kinds of goals in life. One that makes us feel so alive, even when it doesn't make sense, and the other just looks good in a LinkedIn profile. In this video, I will be exploring the differences between foreign goals and inner goals to get better at knowing whether we're choosing a goal that is actually ours or not. Foreign goals come from external sources like society, culture, family expectations, ego, and/or pendulums, which I made a video about on this channel, and I highly recommend watching that if you end up resonating with this video. Choosing goals is like choosing clothes, like when I got this waterproof jacket right here. I saw it on the clearance rack and got a good look of it, got a good feel of it, but I put it back. A few minutes later, I went back and gave it one last look and feel. I thought maybe I'll like it some more when it's on me. So I went to the fitting room, tried it on, but I was still in my head rationalizing if it made sense to buy it. It seemed to check all the boxes in my mind. It's 100% functional, it's in my size, it's on clearance, and it was the only piece available at the store. It made 100% sense in my mind to get it. After we purchased the jacket, I wore it a couple times, and now I plan on never wearing it again and returning it as soon as possible. Here's the thing, while it made perfect sense in my head, my heart was not in it. Before buying the jacket, I had to really think and justify why I should get it. I was living in the Pacific Northwest. My husband frequently uses a similar jacket of the same brand. A friend of ours even pointed it out because he owns one too. It's in my size and on the clearance rack. I thought, wow, this jacket is hyped and will do the job of protecting me in rain. The jacket indeed protects me from rain. It's designed to keep me 100%, at least 99% dry. The tricky part is, I don't really feel like my true self every time I wore this jacket. So I wore it some more to see if I just needed to grow into it. Well, feelings of resistance started to creep up. I would feel this inner tension every time I put it on. I now even get stressed just thinking about wearing it again. Getting this jacket is me chasing a foreign goal because it brought a lot of internal resistance. To explore more of how this works in a scientific perspective, I'm going to use one of my absolute favorite topics in physics back when I was studying computer science. The second law of thermodynamics tells us something we see in our everyday lives, that things naturally get messier over time unless we put effort to keep them in order. For example, a hot bowl of ramen cools down because heat spreads out into the cooler air around it, striving for balance between the ramen and its environment. Metaphorically speaking, this means that when we chase goals that feel unnatural or foreign to us, like me purchasing this jacket, we're going against the natural flow of energy, which often leads to struggle and resistance, just like trying to keep the ramen hot where additional energy is required. When I started university, I was on a path to get into medical school because I thought wearing a white coat with a stethoscope around my neck meant I had something to prove. Because a lot of my pre-med classes felt memorization based, I felt like my brain was moving through quicksand. Every pre-med class felt like swimming against the current. I couldn't even get along with anyone in my classes. So thankfully, I was able to switch to computer science and fell in love with how it made me think. While I genuinely loved the first couple years, I started to really struggle during my senior year because of the pressure to have a software developer job lined up after graduation. I felt so lost, so I started using drugs to perform cognitively better, and I would take shortcuts like cheating on my exams. Not proud of it. So much of that resistance and effort later, I graduated and got a high-paying job as a software quality engineer, which, by the way, in my opinion, has a lower programming intensity compared to software development itself. So it kind of worked out for me. A year later, I started to chase the goal of becoming a pilot. The reason for this was that I wanted to show off to people that I can fly a plane, so I paid hundreds of dollars for the introductory flight lesson. After the lesson, I felt something extremely off, like a big anxiety cloud hovering over me, or more like a big wave of anxiety just washing over me. And I kind of just shushed it down because I was focused on proving myself to others. So I did the next step, which was to do the aviation medical exam. A few weeks later, I got denied due to my medical history. I thought, okay, maybe I can spend a year doing a bunch of medical tests to really pass the next medical exam. What's really interesting is that I felt the same inner resistance that I had when I was doing pre-med. It seemed like, yes, all the odds were against me, and if I wanted bad enough, I would make it happen. However, I just felt so far off from who I was doing so. Progressing through these goals just seemed to take so much out of me. Eventually, I had to stop investing any more energy on the path of becoming a pilot because it is not in my lifeline. These experiences taught me that the goals I was chasing were foreign. They did not resonate with who I am. The second law of thermodynamics tells me that when I leave a hot bowl of ramen out, over time, the temperature of the ramen becomes cold unless I heat it up on a stove, aka adding energy to the system. Same goes for when I chase a foreign goal that's driven by a need to prove my worth to society. It takes constant effort and micromanaging circumstances to keep that goal hot. If I stop with all the effort of adding energy, the foreign goal will lose momentum, hence why I did not become a doctor and or a pilot. Once I realize I'm in a path of a foreign goal, I release all the pressure to continue and allow space for a more soul-aligned goal to reveal itself. Inner goals come from the soul. They feel light, energizing, meaningful, and there's a natural draw to them without using any force. They can even open up curiosity, and we tend to feel a gravitational pull to explore them further. When we pursue an inner goal, doors will open with ease and miracles happen. It feels organic, like a breath of fresh air. In one of the previous jobs I worked at, our team was required to create a presentation about ourselves so we can all get to know each other. On one of the slides, there was a topic of places I'd like to travel to. I had an inner goal to explore Peru and attend a shamanic spiritual retreat. So in the presentation, I put a picture of a maloca, which is a circular hut that's used for shamanic ceremonies. Picturing myself exploring Peru felt like an internal breeze. I did not know when or plan when I'd go. I just knew that this was an adventure that I see myself embarking on. A few months later, I got let go from my job, yet my vision of being in Peru stayed, even though, oh my gosh, I don't have the income. Several weeks after that, I received a financial blessing that enabled me to afford flying to Peru with my now husband, where we attended the retreat, toured the Amazon jungle, and explored Machu Picchu for 3 weeks. All of these physical experiences unfolded effortlessly in its own timing because I chose a goal that was aligned with my true nature. When we align and move through our goals, momentum is sustained without needing constant effort. This is the essence of the flow state. Flow state, as psychologist Mihaly describes it, is a state where we become deeply immersed in an activity that nothing else seemed to matter. There's a sense of effortless momentum, and the activity itself feels rewarding because our whole being is involved. Reducing importance to our inner goals is like having a detached view on it rather than a fixated one. As we reduce the importance and attachment to our inner goals, another thing to keep in mind is to say no to pendulums and listen to our hearts instead. Yes, this one. There are times where I look inside of myself and feel no sense of inner goals. Usually, this means that my life force is severely depleted and my inner world is filled with plaque and filth from the demands of the external sources. When I am feeling depleted, the current energy levels I have are only for supporting basic needs like breathing. Usually, when I'm in a state like this, it's a sign to focus on increasing my energy levels. For me, this often looks like simply being present with my feelings without judgment, however long that takes. Also, I do kind of like an internal audit to identify any external forces that could be sucking out all my energy right now. So then I can detach from them and take my time for my inner goals to present themselves. I also want to mention this incredibly resonating video that talks about what to do in situations like that. In Chinese philosophy, Taoism, there is a key idea called ziren, which translates to naturalness or spontaneity. Ziren is about being ourselves without any force, without pretending, and without trying to become something we're not. Ziren also became influential in Chinese artistic expression, where we can see its principles demonstrated in landscape paintings. I remember in middle school, I had a biology class where we were assigned to write an essay about an animal we were given as a topic. Instead of writing an essay, I made a brochure instead because it felt more exciting doing that. When I handed it in class, I was surprised by how my teacher handled the assignment. He held up my brochure in front of the whole class, gave it a shout out, then passed it along for other students to enjoy. Writing an essay about an animal felt too dry for me at the time. I didn't care about the consequences of taking a completely different route on the assignment, let alone expecting some kind of praise for it. I simply aligned with my inner goals. To sum it all up, here's how the two kinds of goals differentiate from each other. I want to end on that foreign goals are not always evil. They just don't align with who we are at our core. I've chased foreign goals because of ego and societal pressure. But along the way, I also gained absolute clarity on what it is that I truly want. If anything, a foreign goal can even serve as a bridge to an inner goal. I personally love exploring different avenues in life and having to experience them myself, while at the same time feeling out if they're foreign goals or inner goals. I just make sure I don't stay asleep or brainwashed inside foreign goals, but rather take it as a stepping stone to refine the path to my inner goals. So, if you've made it this far, let's take a deep breath together. And always remember the magic within you. Till next time.